starting on time. Hence, I am going ahead and giving you just a brief overview of what is going to happen over the coming few minutes. So this course is targeting the aspiring authors of KSOS, and it is exclusively designed by handpicking topics that are must-knows for all young authors. Started. Session. So essentially we have divided this talk into 4 sessions in order not to crowd the session too much. So the first will be an overview of how you can any person into ophthalmic practice can take baby steps towards publication. So it is it is for everybody, but it is also for the early career ophthalmologist who is considering a serious publication. Within that, we have many subtopics, of which I have selected literature search and referencing as the very important topic, both for publication as well as effective scientific reading. So that is why literature search and referencing, smart ways. Dr. Smita Narayanan, Professor JMC Thrissur, she will be here any moment now. She will be talking about that. And the publishers are daunted by the prospect of rejection, and it is a number one deterrent to come into the publication arena. So that is why while we celebrate our successes, we should be able to deal with our failures equally well to move on. That is why article rejections should be faced with the head and not the heart. So how to do that, how to figure out the reasons and come out with the remedies, that is what our veteran past editor of KJO, Dr. Sudha, will be enlightening you on that. And now comes the most different perspective is brought to this session by Dr. Rohan, District Ophthalmic Surgeon, Palakkad. He will be talking to you on scientific publishing from outside academia, mission possible. That's because a lot of people have personally and otherwise expressed their concerns about whether a practitioner outside of teaching, outside of medical colleges essentially, can get an article published. So Rohan will be enlightening all of us about that. So this is how the course is structured, and with that, a few words of introduction. I am now going straight into my topic, that is practice to publication, a roadmap for beginners. So I am taking this talk and I'm taking you with me from the perspective of a young publisher on the go. So the first step of any journey is to fuel up your engine, and that is your fire. Find that fire to publish. So the research journey is not easy. It is very demanding and energy and time intense with little financial gains. So that is why the researcher should be highly self-motivated, focused, goal-oriented, patient, and perseverant. So it's the attitude which is most important. That's why I've put that one slide on that. So once you have the fire and the fuel in you, the second thing for a journey is to gear up. So here the gearing up is regarding the essential research skills. So first of all, initiate the habit of regular scientific reading and journals so that you know what you're getting into. Learn all the research methodology basics. Acquire clinical documentation skills. That means even if you know and want to publish, if you don't know how to take a slit lamp photograph or a fundus photograph, how are you going to go ahead with your documentation? So those are the skills meant. Once you have all this ready and a manuscript ready, how are you going to get it published without proper networking, collaboration, and communication? So soft skills are very important. And finally, your entire workspace, whatever workspace you are in, should be geared to publication. That means whatever data you have to stack it in the proper place where you will get it easily, both for storage and retrieval. So this is how you skill up to be essentially a researcher or into publication. So when I said you should learn research methodology, these are the things that come under it. It starts with the search engines, goes on with the manuscript writing, the reference tools, and the latest would be AI in research. And the most common myth about this part is that it's needed only for original research. No, it is not. As I said, even to read a journal properly, you need all this. Supposing you read an article, take a research course, then read the article again, you will see it in a different perspective. So, but how exactly are we going to attain this goal of, learning research methodology? It's not very, very difficult now, because we have many workshops by academic institutions, ICs like this in conferences, which are still largely empty, and online courses for self-paced learning. My personal favorite is the one by Elsevier Research Academy, but we also have AAO courses and many webinars are there online. One by IGO KGO would be the one, very nice one is there by collaboration between IGO KGO. And there are courses run by NMC and KUHAS, which are both in the online and the hybrid format. And people who are seriously into research as mentorship programs by Harvard University, AAO, Women in Ophthalmology, etc. So now that you have the gear and you are all set with fuel and gear, the next step is to spark the engine on. Research is seeing what everybody else has seen and thinking what nobody else has thought. So it's up to you to get that idea to go on. Without that, there is no spark. So this slide may help you with that. First is think of a research topic that you are passionate about, that the research topic should not come in your head. It should come from your clinics. So it should be something you are facing. Then you will be intrinsically motivated to go on with the research. Then comes the reading. You read about it, do a good literature search, identify the gaps. After doing this, don't let everything play in your mind. Sit and articulate whatever you have learned on paper, so that that research gap is actually put on paper, and phrase the problem as a research question. So that's how you refine your idea, but your idea should just not be fine, it should be finer, in the sense the research question should be feasible, it should be interesting, it should be novel, it should be ethical, and should be relevant to our practice. So this is Dr. Smita's domain. I am not going into it, like how to do a proper literature review. All I am saying is this, that is, however you do the review, you do reading not superficially, but you should do deep reading as a researcher. There is no scope for superficial reading, because that is the trick to find the gap. So when you read an article, have an analytical and critical mind and focus on the limitations and discussions of original articles. Look into the systematic reviews and the key concepts in the journals, and look out for certain expressions in articles that will tell you that this is a research gap. I will tell you what the expressions are shortly. Now, once you have done that, you can organize whatever you have read and write down critical questions that you have identified from each article with their citation and references. You should put it down in a Word document so that you can go back to it anytime you wish, and then meditate upon it. Sit there and meditate upon it. Don't act immediately, and discuss with your mentors, get more input into the data that you are using. And see, these are the expressions that often indicate research gaps. That is, this has not been reported. This is further needed or required. This has scope for improvement. The key question remains. It is important to address future areas, scope. Those are the areas which we don't generally focus on, but they are what the young researchers should be focusing on. So once you get the idea, you frame your research question, and the format, all of us know it is the PICOT format, which should have the population, the intervention, the comparison, the outcome, and the time in it. So once that is set, you are all set to go. So now you set the compass and map the route. Please remember that the cost does not justify the path. So your good research should be as per COPE guidelines, well justified, well planned, appropriately designed, and ethically approved. So now you are all set to go, and go to the design of the study. Just don't go. First design the route map you will be taking. So your objectives should be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound, because each study starts with an aim and an objective. Select the appropriate design. That means whether it is prospective, retrospective, whatever, that design should be appropriate to your design question. Go by the guidelines. You already have the equator guidelines, that is the strobe, star, etc. So you go by that, and please ensure that you have feasibility in terms of time, resources, and funds. And most of all, the study should be ethically sound. So the protocol, it is not enough that the person who is designing the study alone knows about the protocol. You discuss it with your all contributors, collaborators, and early agreement should be there on the precise rules regarding authorship especially, and statistics should be dealt with in detail and discussed with the statistician even before you start your study. Now get the green signal. That means IRB and IEC approval. And once that is done, yes, you are on the road. Don't take shortcuts. Be truthful, meticulous, and stick to your protocol. There may be problems of bias, sample size sampling, follow-up attrition, unexpected hurdles. You can circumvent them all in the right, proper manner. So the first stop for a researcher is data collection and analysis. Never compromise the truth of the data. So നമ്മൾ സ്റ്റാറ്റിസ്റ്റിക്സിലേക്ക് പോകുമ്പോൾ എല്ലാവർക്കും ഭയങ്കര കൺഫ്യൂഷനാണ്. സോ ഫസ്റ്റ് യു ഗെറ്റ് കോൺസെപ്ച്വൽ ക്ലാരിറ്റി. അതെങ്ങനെ പറ്റും? ദർ ഇസ് ഓൾറെഡി ദർ ആർ സോ മെനി ചാർട്ട്സ് ആൻഡ് stuff available in so many resources. You can also have a data management workshop. You can go to a data management workshop which will get you enough conceptual clarity. But hands-on, there are only very few researchers who do their own statistics. But it is possible. You can do it using these some softwares like SPS and OpenAPI. I have personally used the OpenAPI and found it useful. And but I would always recommend the services of a biostatistician, especially if you are a aspiring author. So once you are into it and your manuscript is ready, don't start writing the manuscript. You decide which is the location that you want to go to and select that right journal. So it is a stepwise approach to choose a journal. First is, see, every journal has a scope and a target audience. So you choose the journal whose readers are most in sync with your article. And then if there are 5 journals, list those as per the citation metrics. And then factor in the turnaround time, the rejection acceptance rates. And finally, if there are author fee, you decide whether you can afford the author fee. So most of all, this is about deciding on the journal, but most of all, you should decide how impactful your own article is. You should have insight on that. If it is just passable, do not go for a journal with very high metrics, because ultimately this depends upon your own publication goals. So I'll just mention 3 top frequently asked questions. Is open access or subscription journals better? See, both have their merits and demerits. Open access has fees generally, unless it is sponsored by a society or we have like that. So that's the problem. And it's also spurring a lot of, predatory journals. But definitely it has more reach and more visibility if your article is an open access journal. Online versus print, online has a higher chance that you will get it published, but author pay model ana, so your APC can go up to $1,000 even. But print means it is a higher waiting period and higher competition for pages, and may have no author fee, but if they have advertisements accepted. Now the top question I get is how to avoid predatory journals. One thing, please remember, all journals with author fee are not predatory. They may be very good journals. So predatory journals are those publications that claim to be legitimate but misrepresent the publication process. You can verify the information on the journal site with other websites, and also go for the journal metrics. Then I will tell you something about the blacklist and the whitelist. Blacklist used to be there, but now it is rather obsolete, those blacklists. So make sure that your journal is listed with the COPE, that is Committee on Publication Ethics, and also DOJ, if it is a DOJ index journal. And you can also use tools like Think, Check, and Submit for this. So manuscript writing, I'm not going into details, but just that this is the order in which you should write. It is not the IMRAD format. It's the materials and methods which should come first. then go to the introduction, then the results and discussion, then conclusion, finally abstract. And if you want to know more, you read KGO because it runs a themed section on this. So finally, your manuscript is ready. You check all these things before you submit. One is the equator guidelines I've already mentioned. You can check language, grammar, plagiarism, AA checkers, and make sure that all these forms are there and correctly in place. And then you submit. Once you submit, don't just, expect acceptance. There is a long process of peer review and revision. So respond completely and list your corrections. Very polite and professional you should be in your correspondence, and be patient and perseverant till it gets accepted for publication. And please remember, even if it is accepted, acceptance is not publication. There are rounds of proofing in between which takes months and even year. So and finally, if it gets rejected, it's not equal to dejection. Research journey is not for the faint-hearted. Pick yourself up every time you fall. Refine your study. Try again and again and again. So in conclusion, there are no shortcuts to good quality research and publication. And key attributes to success will be a structured step-by-step approach, continued research skilling, starting early in your career, collaborating wisely, patience and perseverance. So wishing you all very fulfilling research journeys. Thank you very much for your kind